Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson, and I have several really good questions here from Inside the Red Raiders subscribers, so I'm going to dive right into them. The first one comes from Panther Cat, who essentially wants to know which players, first off, when the current players will announce whether they're leaving or not, and which ones will go, which ones will stay, just my thoughts on it. Well, first off, I think more than likely you mentioned Santos Silva, Terence Shannon, and Magg, clung. If or when they would announce their intentions. I would say after the season, more than likely. I think that's a pretty good assumption. Although, of course, Tech's already had two players leave. This season. That being said, these three guys are all solid, big parts of the team. Team first kind of guys. So, I feel like they may already know, or they may have already told their camps, but in terms of any kind of public announcement, I don't think it'll be until after the season. Just going through those three guys, Santos Silva, it's hard to say. He's been in college a long time. Maybe he's ready to go pro, so that wouldn't surprise me. Or maybe he likes it here, and, maybe he returns. So, I really don't know with Santos Silva. Now with Terence Shannon, if he is a solid first-round pick, I think he will and he should go. That being said, I normally am the type that I feel like, if you are being projected around a first-round pick, to be drafted in the NBA draft, then you should go. Because it's an obvious business decision in my opinion. And that doesn't mean you're not a team-first guy. And we're talking about Terence Shannon, a guy who just requested to come off the bench for team harmony, and gives his body up as much as anybody on the team, takes as many charges as anybody on the team, just goes balls out as hard as he can, seemingly almost every game. So this is not a selfish person. But that being said, if he could change his whole family's life, or at least make a big economic impact on his life and his family's life, who am I to judge them? Who are any of us to judge them on that? Now, in Shannon's unique case, though, I really feel like his ceiling is really high, and he's not quite there yet. Now, NBA drafts have potential, but I feel like, unlike maybe a Ramsey, definitely a Jarrett Culver, while, yeah, they definitely could have progressed, they could have developed under Coach Beard, I don't know if they would have raised their draft stocks. And maybe not even Zaire Smith, I don't know. I don't know if their stocks would have been any higher than what they were at the time that they declared. Ramsey, maybe you could debate. I don't know. But Shannon, I feel like he can raise his draft stock considerably if he develops some. I feel like he could be an all Big 12 player next year, 2021-22, and could go into the maybe middle of the first round. I think he has that kind of potential. Where right now, I think he's kind of like Ramsey. He's kind of around, late first or second round pick. So I just feel like Shannon is a different case than those other guys. But we'll have to see what happens. I would begrudge him either way. I hope he makes the right choice for himself. That's for sure, and his family. Now, in terms of Magg, clung, it's hard to say. He's the leading scorer in the Big 12 as of right now. He looks pretty good. I don't know exactly what NBA scouts told him, other than they probably want him to be more of a point guard kind of guy. And I don't know if he's ever going to be. He gets his teammates involved and all that, but I always feel like he's going to be a score first point guard more than a facilitator, and that's okay. I don't think that's wrong. I just don't know if his lack of height is going to hurt him or what. But I feel like if he gets a chance at the next level, his athleticism will allow him to create his own shot. This is not like a Jimmer Fredette, who was a great shooter, don't get me wrong, great player, but his athleticism held him back some, and just simply being able to get his shot off when he wanted to. That's not the case with a guy like Magg, clung, who was a 15-inch vertical, extremely fast, very athletic guy. So, good change of pace guy. I think there is a place for Magg, clung in the NBA. I just don't know if it's after this year or not. That's something he obviously wants to do. He may want to take another year and stay in the program at Texas Tech before going on. But I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he left after this because, like I said, he's already tested NBA waters, and that's a big goal of his. And I don't see why not. I could definitely see him playing at the next level, but some things are going to have to fall into place for him, I believe. Someone's really going to have to take the right situation, is going to have to take a chance on him and put him in an opportunity to be successful. All right, TTU 1032 wants more of an empty of the bucket kind of thing. He's looking for that. He wants to know, here, I'll go through some of the questions he wants. In terms of the coaching saga, I mean, I've gone over this on Inside the Red Raiders. I mean, yeah, there was definitely consideration in terms of at the end of the season for Matt Wells to be let go. I think some of Art Briles stuff was probably overstated. I think he was being pushed by some people, but I don't think Texas Tech ever truly considered Art Briles as head coach. There was a point where, you know, it came to where David Yost needs to go. I think there was some pushback there. But then, obviously, when Coach Wells acquiesced, this is all while he's recovering from COVID-19, by the way, which he admitted he had it pretty bad. He was pretty sick. So communication there was pretty weird, and I think that's part of the reason for the delay. Not all of it. Bottom line is Coach Wells agreed to fire Coach Yost, and they brought in Cumbie, and that gave them at least another year. Now, in terms of Kirby Hocutt, I mean, there's a free story on Inside the Red Raiders you can find. Me saying basically how disappointed I was with the lack of transparency and how disingenuous the press conference was with Kirby Hocutt when all this was happening. In terms of him talking to players, if you're around the program, you know any of the people within the program, you know that there was some feedback. Now, you could do the semantics of if he had a big team meeting or however that message was delivered to Kirby Hocutt. He got it, and there was some dissatisfaction, especially on offense. And I think we've seen that now. That's one of the questions on here is the mass exodus of players, which there haven't been a ton. But you had Alan Bowman, Keyshawn Carter, you had some guy, Jalen Polk, some guys that were prominent starters, guys that were getting a lot of playing time that left. Now, personally, I don't think Bowman was that big a deal. They needed to move on from the Bowman era. Good luck to him moving forward. Keyshawn Carter was disappointing, but receiver, same thing with Jalen Polk. I knew Keyshawn Carter was happening. I knew he was dissatisfied. But I didn't know Jalen Polk was considering leaving. So he went to Washington. Keyshawn Carter went to Houston. We'll have to see where Alan Bowman ends up. But there are some other players, but and there were some players on defense, but really what you saw was the team, anybody who saw, you can quote me stats all you want, but anybody who knows football, who saw the game, saw the defense come together, rally behind their defense coordinator and each other, and play better defense as the season went along, which kept them in games and won them a couple of games late. And then offensively, you saw them struggle greatly, especially by Texas Tech standards, and really it almost culminated with a loss against Kansas in the season finale. But it did culminate with the offensive coordinator getting fired. And like I said, quarterback, a couple big-time receivers leaving. So that's where they were with that. There was some problem. There were some problems with some of Wells' decisions, just like we had problems with it. But ultimately, I feel like they're bringing in a lot of talent too, both to the transfer market and the high school ranks, that I don't feel like they've lost a lot there. Just being honest, I feel like overall it's a net gain from what they've added so far. I've gone over and over how all the transfers that they've brought in. You could find it in this channel on this site Inside the Red Raiders, talking about what a big impact I believe the transfers will make. And these guys are already on campus. Also, this is posted on Friday. On Monday, there's going to be recruiting rankings in terms of but transfer rankings by position. Overall, top 50, which Tech has one of them. And then position rankings, and Tech has several guys mentioned in there. So be on the lookout for that. So 24/7 is going to release those transfer rankings on, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, early next week. So that's something to look out for. That's been a long time coming. I think 24/7 will be one of the first ones to really go after it and tackle this aggressively, but it's something that all recruiting service rankings are kind of behind, and we're playing catch up in terms of judging that as a big part, the bigger part of recruiting, not just high school or junior college recruiting, but also the transfer market, how big it's becoming. That 24/7 is really taking a big step in and trying to account for that, for how much it means and what it's going to mean for the team next year, ultimately. The final part of this question from TTU 1032 is basically, are we, in terms of like the writers, the media, are we going to see more spring? I hope so. I've talked with some people at Tech about that. They want to, but they also don't want to needlessly put any of the team in jeopardy where they have to, somehow one of us media nerds go in there and get these players or coaches sick, So it's going to have to really be orchestrated to where we don't infect anyone, we don't have any contact with anyone, and it'd have to be at the Jones. We can't be at the practice facility. It's too, you're too close to each other. We'll go through the same entrances. We'll be in the same areas, before we even outside the field. I mean, we're kind of in areas by where players come and go. We are. So it has to be, and definitely not in the indoor, of course. That's way too intimate, for lack of a better term. But at the Jones, when they have some practice at the Jones, I do believe it would be possible, and this is what I said, I'm willing to wear a hazmat suit and be in my own section. I don't care if I have to be way up in the rafters and the nosebleeds with my Knox in my hazmat suit. I'm willing to do it, I just want to be able to see, there's these nuances to seeing who's really taking the next step, who's getting the looks, the reps, who's taking that next step, and that's what spring ball's all about for me. And I love football, so I love seeing I miss it already. So I really hope I get a little bit of access this spring. But I'm not one of those people. I'm not gonna whine about it if we don't get it. I understand it's the COVID era. That's the reality we're in. They want. Coaches never really want to give me just a ton of access, though. Coach Wills has been good, but I do believe they do want to open up their practices some and share Red Raider football with the fans and the media some, and then some of the people in terms of like the communication department. They want us there. They want to help us out, but we just got to see what we can do. The numbers are, knock on wood, they're lowering drastically, and I think there is some optimism around a return to normalcy, at least by the fall, but hopefully even some this spring. So, yeah, I'm hopeful I'll get to see at least a couple workouts this spring. All right, Afro53, he said he piggybacked off that, one of the TTU 1032's questions in terms of just kind of emptying the bucket a little bit about some recruiting. He doesn't understand why Texas Tech didn't recruit quarterback Sawyer Robertson more here locally. Lubbock Coronado. He's a borderline 4-star guy. Tons of Power 5 offers. Going to Mississippi State. Basically he said he likes Barry Morton, but why didn't Tech, with him being so close, why didn't Tech go after him more or even offer him? Because Tech only offered one guy, really this recruiting staff, they offered one quarterback. There'll be some other offers on there, but that's from Kingsbury from years before. Or there's a couple that was really offered at other positions that's listed at quarterback on 24/7 Sports database. But they offered one guy, Barry Morton. That was their guy. And to answer your question, do they like Barry Morton that much more than Sawyer Robertson? Yes, they do. I think it's fair to ask this question. I think, fair or not, Barry Morton, and in terms of for Texas Tech fandom, Barry Morton and Sawyer Robertson are going to be measured against each other throughout their careers. And look, I like both of them. I do. I like Barron's ability to throw on the run, though. I do think, in Tech's defense, yeah, Sawyer Robertson is a highly ranked guy, but in every recruiting service, Barry Morton's rated higher. Barry Morton went to the Elite 11. Sawyer Robertson didn't. You can go down the list. Everybody rates Barry Morton as the better prospect. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be a better college player, and you do bring up a good point in terms of level of competition, but I've seen Barry Morton play in person, and he's the real deal in terms of potential and arm and athleticism and all that. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Quarterback is difficult to assess sometimes, especially coming from high school to college, maybe even more from college to pros. It's a big leap, high school to Power 5, so it's a different leap. But I don't, of all the things you could fault with Texas Tech, the football and the program and recruiting and whatnot, I don't know if this one's it. They landed one of the top prospects in the history or at least in the modern history, the last 20 years of Texas Tech football. I think he's rated 7th, so all time, or of those 20 years, the 7th highest. So and there's a very good chance he's going to play early this year. So he's already on campus as a midterm enrollee. He is a Lubbock guy. He was born in Lubbock, raised in Lubbock, loves Lubbock. He's a Texas Tech guy, so he checks all the boxes. You could argue, why didn't they recruit 2? I don't know. I don't know if that was possible or not. Perhaps it was. Some programs have no problem doing that. I don't know if Texas Tech, if it's possible for them to get 2 highly rated quarterbacks at Texas Tech, but maybe it is. They didn't, but like I said, I think there are other things to criticize, but that's just my opinion, which you asked. OBX Raider wants to know if I would get an interview with Sonny Cumbie to get his thoughts on recruiting going forward. Yeah, and Sonny Cumbie is a good recruiter. You know, I feel like I can say that with certainty that he has recruiting chops. Now, I feel like I can say that more about his recruiting than I can in terms of him as a play caller. You know, I'm not really sure how much I'm ready to say, oh, this guy's a great play caller. I don't know that he might be, but I'm not ready to say that as fact. I do feel like he's a good recruiter. He has great connections, and what's cool, he has great connections at Tech already. I'll give you a perfect example. Just I was doing a bunch of stories here, a bunch of recruiting stories, interviewed a lot of recruits recently. One guy is Jeremy Patton, just a beast stud out of East Texas, linebacker, could play safety, linebacker, running back, receiver, whatever. Jeremy Patton's a guy who's really blowing up on the recruiting scene. Tech is in a really good spot with him. One of the reasons for that is Sonny Cumbie recruited his older cousin from the same area in Reginald Davis, which I think most of y'all remember Reggie Davis, pretty good receiver for Texas Tech during the Kingsbury era. But Sonny Cumbie actually recruited him to Tech. So they have a great relationship, and they're full court press him. It's not just Sonny Cumbie, but the fact that he has that relationship is huge. And recruiting, I know it's cliche, but it really is all about relationships. So that's huge, and I think that's something where Cumbie's really going to help. But to answer your question, yes, I will request an interview. But if nothing else, I will get to ask him questions during spring ball. They will make him available. I will be there, and I will ask him questions. So one way or the other, I'm going to get my questions in to Coach Cumbie. All right, and finally, Red Raiders wants to know when is my power going to come back on? And he said, LOL. Yeah, Red Raiders and all y'all out there, I've said this in videos, I've said this on the board inside the Red Raiders. I was lucky. I'm in Lubbock. I think we're on a different grid and all that. And that's not my expertise. So I'm not going to pretend like it is. But bottom line is we've had power. We've had water so far, knock on wood. It snowed a lot. We got like 7 or 8 inches this week. Over a week of consistently below freezing temperatures. It was a crazy time. My son was out of school all week, so it's crazy. But I count myself blessed. We had food, we had water, we had heat, electricity, internet, all that. So for the most part, and I know a lot of people had some really hard times out there, and it wasn't lost on me. I have friends and family who was dealing with a lot, throughout the state this week, and all this stuff weighs heavily on me. Maybe too much. Just the general welfare of society, for lack of a better phrase. It always has. Since my kindergarten teacher used to worry about me. I used to tell my parents, and it still does. It's never going to change. And I feel a lot of sympathy for a lot of people out there, and I just hope people are doing all right. And despite, I don't want to get too serious, and I don't want to make this a Debbie Downer thing, because my ultimate point is it's not. But we've gone through a lot. I think in my lifetime, and I think most of the people out there, their lifetime, here this stretch over the last years has pressed us. Let's put it that way. Put a lot of pressure on us. Whether it be COVID, the pandemic, social unrest, disharmony that was very public and sometimes violent. All the political unrest, of course. Capitol Hill stormed. No matter what your political beliefs are, it's crazy the things that keep happening. This winter storm, historic winter storm, and then the power outages with it in Texas and in the region. It's a lot. We've been asked to deal with and endure more in my lifetime, at least, and like I said, I think a lot of people out there in their lifetime have ever. And I just want to say that my thoughts and prayers are with everyone and for all of us. And we will endure. I feel strongly about that. And that somehow we'll find positives through all this. And I really hope that everybody ultimately here, just in the short term, is able to stay warm. It will warm up here. The sun will come out, literally and figuratively, and hopefully your power will come back and the pipes don't burst, or if they do, you get them fixed and you're insured and what, all that it works out for you. And everyone is in my thoughts. All these problems are in my thoughts, including yours, Red Raiders, and of course, my beloved Inside the Red Raiders subscribers as much as anyone. So with that, I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time.